Level 1, Necrontyr. The queue moves one body every 90 seconds, and you have counted 640 of them since dawn. The machine at the front is efficient. You are close. You have counted things your whole life. It is what your people do instead of praying. Your mask was carved on your naming day and set into the family niche with the others, and on the inside of it, where only the dead are meant to read, the physician cut the number 31. That was his estimate. You are 29. The lesions on your forearms have started to weep again, and the sun your world orbits has been killing you since before you had a word for it. You hold no rank. Your family lives on the low terraces where the shielding is thin and the water tastes of the tanks it sat in. Nothing you carry was given to you by anyone above you. The chisel in your belt was your mother's. The strip of lead sheeting you sleep under was pulled off a collapsed transit spine when you were 11, and you dragged it home yourself and nobody stopped you because nobody was looking. The nobles pass the queue in shielded litters. Their skin is clean. The Triarch's officials walk beside them with tablets marking throughput, and not one of them looks at a face in this line. A face in this line is a figure that has not been entered yet. You are angry. Everyone here is angry. Out there somewhere are the old ones, given lifespans without end, and unwilling to share the arithmetic. And every short bitter year your species ever spent building tombs went into that grievance. In an hour you will not be dying anymore. Nobody in this queue can tell you what happens to anger when the thing it was about is taken away. Then the front of the queue is you. The chamber is not warm. Something with too many arms holds your skull still, and the flaying does not hurt the way you braced for. It simply subtracts, in order, from the outside inward. You feel your hands stop being yours. You feel the counting continue, underneath, with nothing left to count on. Then a voice that is not a voice issues an order, and you discover you have already begun obeying it. Level 2, Necron Warrior. You are standing in a rank of 200 bodies identical to your own on a plane that was a city 11 days ago. You did not choose to stand. You did not choose to be here. The order arrived before the question did, and this will be true of every moment for a very long time. The body is living metal, necrodermis, and it does not tire, does not bleed, does not report pain so much as damage. The gauss flare is not held. It is continuous with your forearm, fed from your own frame, and when you level it at a target, the beam strips that target away one layer at a time, skin and then muscle and then bone, in under 2 seconds. There is no scream long enough to fill 2 seconds. What the metal lets you do is walk into fire and keep walking. What it stops you feeling is the wanting. You cannot decide to sit down. You cannot decide to look left. You have permission to exist and no permission to prefer. Beside you, one of the 200 takes a lance strike through the chest cavity and folds. The reanimation protocols engage. The wound crawls shut, the body starts to rise, and then it stops rising. Something in the phase lattice did not take. Canoptek scarabs arrive within the minute and begin taking it apart for salvage while the rank holds position, and the rank holds position, because that is what the rank does. You register all of it. Here is what you cannot find anywhere in yourself. The anger. You reach for it the way you would reach for a tooth with your tongue, and the socket is smooth. The grievance that put you in that queue is not in this body, but you are still counting. 200 bodies, 11 days, 90 seconds. It runs underneath the order like water under a floor, and it is the only thing in here that nobody assigned you. On the 4th day of the advance, something in the command lattice pauses on you, the way a hand pauses on one page. Level 3, the Immortal. They take you apart and put you back together heavier. The chassis is thicker at the shoulder and the chest, built to hold ground rather than to advance across it, and the weapon fused to your arm now is a Tesla carbine, which does not strip a target so much as find every other target standing near it. Lightning does not care about cover. You watch it walk sideways through a tree line and take 11 of the old one's younger servants in a single discharge, and you note the number, because noting the number is what you do. You are also, for the first time since the chamber, permitted latitude, not freedom. Latitude. The order says, hold this crossing, and the manner of holding it is yours, and you find that you are good at it, and you find that being good at it produces something in you that is almost like warmth, and is closer to a circuit closing. The one who rebuilt you is a cryptek whose own chassis is patched with mismatched plating. 4 different dynasties metal on one frame, none of it repainted. It does not explain. It does not congratulate. It simply logs the upgrade and moves to the next body on the slab. The cost arrives quietly, 3 campaigns later. You go looking for the woman whose chisel you carried, and you can retrieve the number 31, cleanly, instantly, from wherever such things now live. live. You cannot retrieve her face. You have the fact of her, filed as a relation, dated, indexed. The face is gone, and you understand that it did not go missing during the war. It was not brought through the chamber at all. So the anger is absent, and the memory is thinning, and the counting remains. You begin to suspect that the counting is not a habit. You begin to suspect it is the last piece of the thing that stood in the queue. Then the war ends, and your name is entered on a list, and the list is a court. Level 4. The Lychguard. You are given a war scythe and a dispersion shield and a position 3 paces behind a throne, and you will occupy that position in that room for the better part of a century. The war scythe cuts through the phase, which means armor is a formality, and distance is the only real defense against you. The shield throws back what is fired at your lord and does nothing at all for you. This is not an oversight. This is the design stated plainly. Your continuation is a subordinate clause in someone else's sentence. The tomb city hums under the floor. Above the throne hang the dynastic crests of a house that was a family of engineers before the pact and is now a lineage of gods with a filing system. You learn the court's cadence, the order of precedence, the exact degree of inclination owed to a visiting nemesor. You learn that loyalty here is not a feeling. It is a wire, and it was soldered in the chamber, and it holds because it was soldered and not because you would have chosen it. In the 9th decade, a magistrate of the court attempts to sever his own reanimation link in the lower vaults. He gets most of the way. You are sent, and you find him half open, deliberately, trying to make the damage permanent before the protocols can find him, and he sees you and says nothing at all. You carry him up. He is repaired. He is then sentenced for the attempt. And you carry out the sentence, and the room is very quiet, and your hands are steady, and afterward you stand 3 paces behind the throne again, with no change registered anywhere in you. That night, running the count out of habit, you arrive at the shape of what you have become. You are not a prisoner of the men who signed the pact. You are their guard. You are extremely good at protecting the people who put your species in that queue. The cryptek with the mismatched plating comes to the vault and offers to take you apart one more time. Level 5. The cryptek. What they give you now is not a weapon, it is access. You are rebuilt with a phase shifter that lets you step out of the material for the length of a heartbeat you no longer have. With control nodes for canoptek constructs, with hands that can open another Necron's chest and correct what is wrong inside it. You spend a decade repairing warriors, and you are, for the first time since the chamber, doing something that adds instead of subtracts. And you read. The dynasty's archives are not sealed against a cryptek. You find the intake figures for your own tomb world, the throughput logs, the 90 seconds per body written down as an efficiency target and met. 60 million years later, people will say the Necrontyr gave up their bodies. The logs are more precise than that. The logs record what the Cetan were paid, and the payment was not the bodies. The bodies were the packaging. You bring it to the one who rebuilt you. It gives you the only line of instruction it will ever give you. Nothing was stolen from us. It was spent. You test the thread against the ledger because now you can measure. You can quantify exactly how much of a Necrontyr survives biotransference down to the lattice. You can point to the sector where volition used to sit, and the grievance is still not there, and the count is still running, and you now know that this is not sentiment. It is a subroutine that predates the machine it runs on, and nobody thought to remove it, because nobody thought it was worth anything. Then the Silent King turns on the star gods, and the sky comes apart, and the shards of the Cetan are scattered into vaults across the dynasties. And when it is finished, he gives one final instruction to a species that can no longer die, and it is an instruction to sleep. You seal your own crypt. You set the wake protocol. You begin counting the last thing you will count for a very long time. Level 6, the Overlord. 60 million years is not a feeling, it is a number, and you are the only one in the chamber who kept the number. You wake because the crypt failed early and badly. Half the Legion did not wake at all. A third of what did wake came up wrong. Minds scoured smooth by the dormancy, warriors walking corridors with no protocol left in them, and the tomb's own repair systems have been quietly eating the lower levels for 100,000 years. There is no Overlord. There is a rank you are standing closest to, and a resurrection orb in a cradle, and nobody left to argue. So you take it, and the Legion answers, and you discover the thing they never tell you about command. Command converts people into arithmetic. 900 warriors sent through a breach returns you the Crown World's flank at a cost of 210, and you can run that calculation in the time it takes to say it, and you do not feel the 210, and the calculation is correct. One of the nobles who woke beside you woke with the flayer's madness in him, hands already at his own face, hoarding flesh he cannot use in a chamber that used to be a library. He was a magistrate before the sleep. You knew his cadence. You put him into stasis yourself, and you note the date, and you move to the next item, and the tomb does not pause. You have a body that cannot end, a legion that answers, and a world under your feet. Every complaint your species carried into that queue has been answered. The sun cannot touch you. The old ones are gone from the galaxy entirely, and the young races that inherited it are already dying at the rate your people once did. You won. You are the proof that you won, and there is nothing in you that feels like winning, only the count ticking under the floor. A signal reaches the tomb from the Crown World, priority absolute. The dynasty's Phaeron did not survive the sleep. Level 7, the Phaeron. The Crown World is yours, and the 11 provincial tomb worlds under it are yours, and the fleets in the dust between them are yours, and none of it belongs to anyone you ever met. This is the part the grievance never planned for. You have the long view now. You can order a campaign that will conclude in 900 years and be present personally for its conclusion, unchanged, holding the same figures in the same hand. You can watch a young species build its first fusion plant and its first crematorium and its first empire and its last one, and file all 4 under the same heading. Time stopped being a wound and became a resource, and the moment it did, it also stopped being anything you could share with a single living thing. Your court runs on protocol so old it has fossilized. Your crypteks argue over restoration philosophy in a language your mother could not have pronounced. You hold audience for a Nemesaur who has forgotten which dynasty he originally served, and you do not correct him, because correcting him would require caring which dynasty he originally served. You have the thing you queued for. Your species is immortal, secure, ascendant, and unkillable. The wound is closed, and the anger that carried you across that plane to the chamber has no object left anywhere in the galaxy, and it did not dissolve when the wound closed, because it was never in the body they took. It was in the queue. It was in the counting. You are still counting. 11 worlds, 900 years, 90 seconds. Then, from beyond the rim, where nothing your dynasty owns has ever gone, a transmission arrives on a triarchal cipher that has been dead for 60 million years, and the whole Crown World stops at once, because every Necron alive knows exactly one being who could still send it. Level 8, the Silent King. He does not sit. That is the first thing. You are brought aboard a vessel that is older than your entire dynasty and colder than the space it crossed, and Szarekh stands in the middle of it in a frame built for war rather than for court, and around him is the silence he is named for, which is not an absence of sound but a refusal to fill it. He tells the assembled Phaerons what is coming. He has seen it from outside in the dark between galaxies, and it is a hunger with no politics in it, no dynasty to negotiate with, nothing to outlast. He is asking for the thing no Necron has given since before the sleep, which is unity, and he is asking for it from a room of sovereigns who each have a private ledger of grievances that are, individually, 60 million years old. When it comes to your turn to answer, you do not answer. You ask. You tell him you carried one thing out of the queue and it was not your face and it was not your name. It was a number cut inside a funerary mask. 31 years, an estimate by a physician on a world whose crust is now under your throne. You tell him you got everything that was demanded on the day that mask was carved, and that the anger did not leave with the sickness. You ask him, since he ordered the pact and then destroyed the ones who profited from it, whether it ever stops. Szarekh takes long enough to answer that you understand he is checking, personally, one more time. It stays. It simply stops being about anything. Then he tells you the fleet moves in 11 days, and turns to the next Phaeron, and the audience continues. Because there is work. You walk back to your barge through corridors that have never held a living thing. The mask is dust. The niche is dust. The terrace and the tanks and the chisel are a layer of sediment on a world you administer. What came through the chamber intact was a habit of counting, running under everything, assigned by nobody, and it is running now. 11 days, 31 at a time, out of habit, the way you were taught before you had a word for it. You count them down.